He was the activist and London filmmaker killed by so-called Islamic State militants in Syria. Mehmet Aksoy had been working alongside Kurdish forces when the military base where he was stationed was attacked back in September.
Tributes have been paid to the London filmmaker who was killed whilst working alongside Kurdish forces fighting Islamic State in Syria. Mehmet Aksoy from Luton died when the military base in which he was stationed was attacked by IS fighters on Tuesday.
Mehmet Aksoy, widely known as Firaz Dağ, was a Kurdish filmmaker, activist and journalist who dedicated his life to telling the stories of those who had been silenced. Born in 1985 in the Kurdish city of Malatya in Turkish-occupied Kurdistan and later raised in London after his family fled to England, Aksoy grew up between cultures of different kinds. This dual experience gave him both the perspective of an insider who carried the pain of exile and the determination of an outsider who could use his position to talk about the Kurdish voices on the global stage. Aksoy's early years in London were marked by creativity and activism. He studied filmmaking at Queen Mary's University and developed a passion for visual storytelling. But for him, art was never separate from the struggle. He saw film and journalism as tools of resistance, ways to challenge power, counter propaganda, and preserve the truth. His work increasingly centered on the Kurdish liberation movement, human rights, and the fight against authoritarianism.
Mehmet Aksoy was my closest comrade, 9 or 10 years. We worked together, many different projects. On the Kurdish question, Mehmet basically prepared a lot of the media work in the UK. He worked on so many different projects. I first met Mehmet about 15 years ago now. Mehmet was, people have heard so many stories about Mehmet. There's nothing really more I can add. And everybody, obviously, who met him was incredibly inspired by him, and he had an aura and an atmosphere that you will never forget, even if you just met him the one time, as people always say. And it's so true. He was so sensitive, so caring, so loving. He was completely and utterly dedicated to the Kurdish issue.
Taybet navendara gandine YPG'de tecrübe ki bu salan hiçti bu. Heval Firaz via gırtsa milekha u tekuşinekha ve devam kır.
Hatidan şehit Firaz aslında gaveki jibu mejibu ev heyecanı ve deheşku derdor medaji hevalin derdor ji bandor bike biteybeji usa xwasta ki wiya ku jibu kar xwasta ki wiya jibu xabata pir mezin bu. براستی یعنی مرو دکاره بیجه کو عشق کو برانبری حقیقتی ای کو شهید فراز جان دکر مرو دکاره پرخواشی پیناسه بکه به تایبت کار خوابادی کو دیدم مشاندن پر به جدیت پر به حساس و حس کرنه که مزن
When ISIS began its brutal campaign across Iraq and Syria in 2014, Aksoy felt compelled to act. The world was watching the extremist group's atrocities, but the voices of the people resisting them, particularly the Kurds, were often overlooked. Inspired by their defiance, he traveled to Rojava, Syrian-occupied Kurdistan, to document the struggle of the YPG and the YPJ. He wanted to capture not only the battles but also the ideals behind the revolution: democracy, women's liberation, and grassroots self-determination. It was there in Rojava that Aksoy took on the name Firaz Dağ, symbolizing his deep identification with the Kurdish movement. He got close with fighters and volunteers in Rojava, recording their stories through film, and his camera eventually became his weapon, his way of confronting ISIS and exposing the world to both the horror of war and the humanity of those fighting for freedom. On September 26, 2017, while working at a YPG media center in Raqqa, Aksoy was killed in an ISIS attack. He was only 32 years old. His death resonated deeply not only among Kurds but across activist and artistic communities worldwide. Friends and colleagues remembered him as a fearless, principled and selfless someone who believed so strongly in justice that he was willing to risk everything for it. Aksoy's legacy lives on through the images and words he left behind and through the example he set. He embodied the belief that storytelling is not a passive act, it is a form of resistance, a way to honor the struggles of the oppressed and a means to inspire solidarity. For many, Firaz Dağ remains a symbol of the intersection between art and revolution, a reminder that the fight for freedom is also a fight for truth.
I know that no one will ever forget him, and I would like him to be remembered as a very courageous, loving. He was just perfect. He was kind. He had, he always had positive things to say, even if someone thought, negative about something. He always had a way to, change their views maybe, or just encourage them. I don't want people to think, oh, he shouldn't have gone there, or it was too soon, obviously, but he was happy there and that's where he wanted to be, so I just want everyone to know that.
He went there to film. He didn't go there to fight. This must be understood. He didn't go there to fight. He went there to record a documentary. He went there to act as a journalist, to record what was happening there. He wanted the world to know what those people were going through, and he wanted to show the liberation from those barbaric people.
Today, Mehmet Aksoy is remembered as both a martyr and a filmmaker, a man whose life bridged cultures and causes, and whose work continues to speak long after his passing. His story is not just about loss, but about the enduring power of art and conviction in the face of violence.